the morning of day 2 of our next leg, and do you notice something different? Sun's out. At least the sun's out here. Over there towards the coast of Borneo it's looking pretty dark, but what was nice was that I just managed to catch some dolphins swimming on the end of the bow, and I caught about 2 seconds worth of footage. The only thing to report was last night at about 4 o'clock in the morning, saw a fishing boat appear on the radar, and as we were approaching the fishing boat we started seeing these flashing lights, and it took us a while to work out that the flashing lights were in fact the lights on his drag net that he was casting out. And unfortunately we were heading in a northeasterly direction and he was heading in an easterly direction, but by the time we'd worked it out we were about 2 miles down the net, so we thought to be on the safe side we'd turn around and go all the way back again. So yeah, good 2 to 2.5 miles of net. We've been told about this before and not entirely sure whether the net is floating on the surface or whether it sinks down, but we just didn't want to take that risk, so rather than trying to go over in between 2 of the flashing lights we thought we'd turn around and go over the top of it. It was the right thing to do. We probably lost about an hour doing that, but better to be safe than sorry. So no wind at the moment, still motor kind of sailing, but you can hear the mains flapping a bit. Just putting it up there for stability, and yeah, that's about it really. I think we'll just keep an eye on this heavy weather over there. I hope it doesn't come this way. It has been, I think, overnight travelling across that way, but these are so unpredictable, these squalls, you just don't know which way they're going. Sometimes it can appear as if they completely change direction. I'm sure they don't, but that's how it feels sometimes. And anyway, yeah, so I think today we're not going to see much. It's towards the evening or into the night as we approach that big group of oil fields. That's when the fun is going to begin. So at least they're marked on the charts, unlike fishing boats and drag nets. Okay, so we're going into the evening of the second night, I think it is. Very easy to get your time confused and muddled when you do these longer passages. And this is the interesting bit now. As we're coming up the coast of Borneo towards Miri, there's a whole swathe of industrial oil platforms. And there's a whole area from the shore out up to 60 miles offshore of oil platforms. We've already been past the first one, and what we're going to be doing is going through some of these oil platforms as we head towards Miri. Now I've managed to set a course that avoids most of them, but there is no avoiding them because they stretch all the way up that coast. The biggest hazard now are old platforms which have been cut back down and sit beneath the water and cannot be seen. Now they're marked on the charts, hopefully all of them are, but I was told a horror story of one catamaran who ran straight into one of these things and wasn't able to get out, so that, I don't know if it's just an old wives' tale, but that story fills me with dread. So all eyes on the radar at night, and the old binoculars during the day. Now, one of the reasons, we haven't explained this actually, why we're going to the marina. So of course we've now spent some months at anchor, apart from a quick trip into Sabana Cove Marina to fit the fridge. But we're going to the marina because we have quite a few more things to sort out on the boat. The biggest thing we have to sort out is the heater, the diesel heater. Now we're not necessarily going to install it at Miri, but we need to get to Borneo and start doing a bit of groundwork, find out how we can import the heater, find the best place to be installing it, and so we want to get a head start on that. Of course there's the usual boat maintenance things. We're going to have to do quite a bit of importing from abroad, and so we need to find out the best place to do all that. So that's the main reason why we're going to Miri. And then after that we're going to head up the coast. Now one of the problems with the Borneo coastline is that there are few places to anchor safely. With the changing seasons we're now going to have a more dominant northwesterly swell coming through. The winds as well, and there is literally nowhere to anchor. So we are actually dependent on these marinas, which is a bit of a shame really, but you know, it is what it is. So I think in terms of the vlog, there will of course be a bit of sailing as we go up the coast. There'll be a bit of boat maintenance, but hopefully we're also going to take you inside Borneo as well. I know very little of Borneo other than, of course, orangutans and its oil production industry, and of course its rainforests as well, which are under threat. So we have much to learn about Borneo. Looking forward to finding out a bit more about it. So anyway, that's my update. As you can hear, we are motor sailing because I think I explained earlier that Miri sits on the shore right by a very narrow, shallow sand bar, and it goes down to about 1 metre at spring low water. So we have to time this right, and because there's no wind, because it's a 500-mile journey, if we were to wait for winds around all these oil platforms, it's not really practical, so we've had to stick the engine on. There we go. What else is there to say? Yeah, I guess I should just stop yabbering now and concentrate on working out where we're going to be turning towards the Borneo coastline. Looking forward to it. Well, we really are in the eye of a storm right now. Liz has been monitoring this as I was taking time off and sleeping. She was doing the first night watch into tonight. Look at that. That is ridiculous. So we're seeing lightning coming down to sea level, and what's really quite disconcerting is that as I point this camera north, I can see lightning striking there, but it's also flashing above us and behind us, so it's coming from all directions. So I can see, as the lightning lights up the sky and the sea, just how vast this storm is. It's ridiculous. That's north, and then I'm now pointing south, and again there's the occasional flashes, and then of course we get the flashes directly above us which are lighting up. I mean, it's a full 360 light show. I've said this before many times, but this I find very disconcerting in terms of being struck by lightning and losing instruments, especially where we are right now with all these oil wells and platforms and so on. So we've got another 120 miles to go before we reach land. So we're going to be doing this for another 30 odd hours. There's not much rain and there's not much wind. It is literally lightning. Look at that. So one thing I've done, and I don't really think it's going to make a lot of difference, but I've unplugged all the electronics that I can. So I've turned main circuits off, unplugged everything from the mains circuit, unplugged USB cables and so on. But from what I understand, lightning strikes really can affect pretty much everything on the boat, irrespective as to whether they are plugged in or not. Hence the Faraday cage effect, which you've heard us talk about before and which I'm sure you're aware of. Well, because we got rid of our gas stove, we no longer have a Faraday cage on board. We don't have a microwave either, so there's nowhere really to throw our handhelds to keep them safe. The other thing that I've heard as well with lightning strikes is that they can take some weeks to actually fully affect your electronic items. I've heard stories of people being struck by lightning and finding that for example their laptop or their chart plotter was fine for the next few days, and then gradually they die. Don't really understand the science behind why that is, but there we go. Oh, Jesus. Oh man, the sooner we're out of this the better. Well, behind me over my right shoulder is the big squall that we just went through. You saw at night time we were surrounded by lightning, and eventually, just as dawn was breaking, it came across the beam. And fortunately I was able to record some of the footage of me pissing around with the rigging. So what happened was the wind came across the beam, across the starboard beam, and it actually hit 35 knots, and that's about where the footage starts. The problem was is that we have running backstays, and of course as the wind comes across the beam we want to push the mainsail out so that there's not too much pressure on that, and so it takes the strain off the rigging, and so the boat doesn't heel over. The problem is that the running backstay is getting away with the boom, so depending on which side the wind is coming from, we have to take one of those running backstays and take it forward and pull the other one back, and that's what you see me doing in the clip. And just at that point, as I say, it was hitting 35 knots. We just had what, a reef and a half, 2 reefs in the main, and we were hitting over 6 knots. Fortunately the sea state was not too bad, but you see the visibility, it dropped right down to less than 50 meters. And of course our other concern is the oil platforms and fishing boats that we've been passing, but happy to report that there's nothing around it at the moment. I've made a point of giving a very wide berth to these platforms as well. But yeah, it was quite exciting. It was exhilarating, good fun. Liz is now putting out her fishing line because we've got fish jumping all around. Look at this. Oh, you missed it. We've got fish jumping all around the boat at the moment, but we've only got one line out. Let's see if we can catch something. You gonna catch anything?
Well, I'm trying some different lures and different setup. We'll see. Well, it's all calm now, but that was probably the most intense storm we've ever been through in all the time we've been on the boat. I reckon that was the most number of lightning strikes in one go that we've ever seen. And 1 or 2 were so close. We just at each other, didn't really know what to do. Well, there's nothing you can do, you just got to sit and wait and just hope that you're going to be okay. Anyway, yeah, very, very intense. Just another 24 hours or so to go now until we reach our destination, and I have a feeling it may not be the last squall. Let's hope they don't get any heavier than that one.